Hi, I'm doing my presentation on the article Lots of Trouble. Now in this article, the author talks about three large automobile companies, GM, Ford, and Chrysler. And what she's doing with these companies is she's explaining how these companies used absorption costing and how it affected their financials and their company as a whole. So what happens with absorption costing is the company will take their fixed and variable costs, so their total manufacturing costs, and divide it by the number of units produced. So in this case, they were taking the large costs of, having plants and of labor, and we're dividing it by the number of cars that they produced. And this, in essence, if you produce a ton of units, what is going to happen is it's going to lower the average price for each car. Inversely, if you don't produce a lot, it's going to increase the average price. So what these companies did was they overproduced in order to make the cars appear less expensive, to lower the average cost. But this had an effect. Instead of expensing those costs as period costs and absorption costing, you actually will count it as inventory in the balance sheet. So these companies started getting huge numbers in their balance sheets, and that, in effect, will increase, your inventory holding costs. So that was a huge expense that started going up as they produced more and more cars. And one thing that companies have been advised to do is when something like that starts happening, when you start having extreme excess capacities, they tell you to expense the costs as if they were period costs instead of using your normal absorption costing. This would help make it so you didn't have such large balances in the balance sheet, and your financials would be more true to your production. One thing that's difficult with this is what is excess capacity, what is normal, what is abnormal. Companies kind of have to determine what it is for themselves. There's no clear-cut lines, so that companies can continue to do it even when they're advised not to. One problem with absorption costing, and one problem that these car companies faced, was as they were producing more cars and had this excess inventory, they had to basically cut the price, which lowered brand image. They had to increase advertising in order to sell cars. Having so many cars being sold, having them be so common, it wasn't good for their brand image. And one thing, that might be helpful in the future is to compensate managers based on things not just net income and production, but things like brand image and customer satisfaction, so that people aren't focused on, just the bottom line, but they're focused on their product and how well it is doing. One problem a little bit with absorption costing is when demand is low, it makes the company not look so good. When demand is high, it makes it look a lot better. So when something like that is happening, it's good practice to expense those costs in a timely manner so that your company doesn't look so volatile, so it's more even in the long run. I found this to be a very interesting article. Absorption costing is very interesting, but it is also very risky if you're not willing to expense costs if things start to get out of hand. Thanks.